Well, thank you very much for joining us on the Modi Job Search Checklist. This is Mark, one of your co-hosts. My other co-host is right there, Damian Birkel. He is the founder of Professionals in Transitions. Watch when he calls it PIP. Okay, Professionals in Transition PIP. It's the same thing. He's not being derogative at all. You can find more about the organization at jobsearching.org. His organization has been around since 1992. It's helped more than 10,000 folks find jobs. So thank you very much, Damien, for hanging out with me. Annette Richmond is going to join us when she gets around. She's going to be a part of the show, and we hopefully she'll join us soon. Press the hyperlink, Annette, the hyperlink. Anyway, she's watching the show. How are you, Damien?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Every Friday, every week, this is the highlight, because not only does it give me an opportunity to work with you every week, but then we have dynamos like Annette Richmond, folks that I would not normally have the opportunity to work with. And it is always a privilege, Mark, to be here with you. And that's something that I never forget, because when you're given the opportunity to share your opinion and expertise with a wide group of folks, it's unique and it's special and it's important. And I thank you.
Well, thank you, and it's an honor always to be with you. I always refer to you as an OG in the space, and that you are. And I've learned tons from you and your book, which we named the show after in part. So it is definitely a tribute to you, sir. And you can see Annette's information down on the lower third. When she joins us, don't feel bad that we didn't show that right away, because we could give you the preview right here. Let's go ahead and go with the show. There is a lot going on, and some of this has a lot to do with all the changes that keeps working around us. One of the first things we were going to talk about is TikTok, but I'm going to wait for Annette here to come, because she was really enthusiastic about joining us for that part of the discussion, especially. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but I just recently wrote a Facebook post. I don't know if you saw my Facebook post. I didn't tag you on it in particularly. I just kind of left it there, and then a bunch of people did answer. But there's a lot of things going on in job search as it relates to everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
there's also a lot of life things that are attached to it that kind of are the same thing. So I'm just trying to pull up my questions, and even that is not working. And for those of you who are joining us live on any of the platforms, nothing seems to work for the fact that I'm able to get into the platform itself. So bear with me. My sound is not the same. My mic really doesn't work. I'm playing with it like it does, but usually I have a much better sound than this. This happened one other time earlier in the week, and it was embarrassing, I thought. But in any case, we're going to get moving. Give me one more second as I begin to pull this up. One thing that we definitely had came to some kind of consensus on as we talked, Christmas is coming up. And I do want to jump on this kind of right away, because it is time, because Christmas is going to look a lot different this year. I think even from last year, when we knew that people weren't going to shop the same way, and people may not shop the same way this year. Although the potential might be that people will actually hire for Christmas. I don't know for how long, but it may not turn out to be, because we have all these different variables that are coming, whether that Delta variant is going to go wild, or whether it's not going to go as wild and people are going to go back to work. Or right now, in many retail establishments, they're short. So will they eventually go back, or will they completely undermine the fact that there's restaurants and retail businesses of all sorts who are not going in. And there's few that are thriving, but not too many. So, in your best, what how should we as career professionals be advising those who are looking for jobs right now and perhaps need to go to a retail establishment and keep it moving?
In preparing for today, I looked up some articles talking about Christmas hiring, and there are real and tangible issues, and it's that flux between, are we over, have we reached herd immunity, or are we going to roll back into it?
Mm-hmm.
And Christmas this year, I think, is going to be wild. I'll just give you one example. And if it's like this come Christmas time,
Yeah.
tempers are going to flare.
Yeah.
I went to Walmart to pick up one item.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got there, a whole bank of registers, only two were open, 15 people in line. And
Mm-hmm.
then I went down to self-serve, and I ended up taking care of myself. My
Mm-hmm.
point being is, if you are looking for Christmas work, that's great. But understand that the dynamics that you're going into are fluid and will change over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, and be prepared to work harder than you've ever worked. Because I started in retail
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact that the number of people needed to come into an organization that surged before Christmas. I think they're going to have a hard time.
Yeah, yeah. I really think that unless there is enough information, pro or con, it is going to be a hot mess of sorts. And let's just start with if retailers are planning to do the usual application process, that is going to be a mess. Um, because if they're short staffed, that means they're going to be short staffed in many different areas and with a lot of unknowns. So the
Mhm.
application process, they're going to have to, I guess, if I were to reimagine this in the sense of what is going to look like now for Christmas and things are the way they are now, it's going to be very interesting how they're going to dwindle down. Yes, they may pay more, but it's sort of like the tug of war. If you have more legs on one side, but you have a bunch of heavy people on the other end, the more legs actually wins the majority of the time because of the way the rope pulls. And I think it's kind of the same dilemma that a lot of retailers are going to have. Do we put the great talent on one side and hire that, or do we hire a lot of legs, make them part time or somewhat part time, so we have flexibility to move people in and out? I think that's going to be really interesting. And if it's a job seeker, if retail has been something uh, I've been doing for all these years, I can understand why you want to not do it because there's going to be confusion. There's going to be role changes a lot. I think from what I remember, retail doing it so many years ago. But no telling. And I'm just wondering too, what are companies going to say about Christmas? Because usually Christmas hiring starts almost about now.
Mhm.
Usually the end of August, beginning of September. By the end of September, the decorations are going to be up.
Mhm.
So it's going to be very interesting. People are still shopping. There isn't a shutdown right now. So, with the shutdown and with the lack of employees, or maybe not, because like you said, Walmart has decided to go with um, automation as they promised that they would do. This was
Mhm.
a surprise.
Mhm. And there's a couple of things that are tugging at me.
Okay.
Um, if you are looking to go into a retail job in a store, in a mall, know that your attitude can change everything. And what I mean by that is not only being friendly, not even going the extra mile, but being patient with customers as they come in through the door, because there are a lot of angry people out there for a number of reasons.
Hmm.
And sometimes they'll bring it into the store with them.
Hmm.
And, you know, your job is to get them through the process and get them out. But the impact that you can have on your career during Christmas uh, can be amazing.
Yeah.
I got my first promotion because of my attitude and productivity in ringing up a cash register. So if you're going into this and you're okay and you're vaccinated, know that you could have a real good opportunity, not not only now, but after the holidays, because it's after the holidays that you see, right before you see this huge surge in service professions, especially retail, because they staff
Hmm.
up. And then
Hmm.
in January, it drops off like a rock off the cliff, because one, they don't need the people. Two, traffic is down.
Right.
Three, uh, this is an opportunity to award those who have done well and keep them in the company, as opposed
Hmm.
to 99% of the people, which are, you know, deep sixed come
Yes.
December 27th.
Right. Right. Yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, um, and that's the other piece too. Is not just the Christmas alone, and of course, like the end of January, there is, there's likely to be a cutoff, and but if business doesn't go well at first, if things have dramatically changed, and people will know that by the middle of December. I mean, middle of December, if you haven't done well by then, you're just going to be a last minute portal at that
Mhm.
particular point, because people are just going to be checking in, checking out for the things that they want and that they can find. If you're talking about those like Target and Walmart and retailers like that, if I were to be a betting man, I would say that this might be a good time to get into a commission job, just because it would pay a little bit more,
Mm.
and the you control kind of the environment and climate more or less. I used to sell shoes once upon a time. I used to be a shoe sales manager once upon a time, and that was the great thing about shoes. Shoes, at least back then, there was only one place you can go. Now you can order shoes and all that, but there's some people who still like to go in the store and do that, and that's at least you can control how many times you're able to touch a customer, so to speak, with a variety of options, and that you're able to build a relationship and a rapport in such a way that they come back just for you. So
Yes.
you're asking yourself to kind of bet on you in that particular instance. If you're doing the Walmart and Target type of thing, then it all depends on the marketing of the company and the service with everybody else involved. So
Mhm.
I think there's so many factors that are involved. I wish Annette was here. She would probably dove right on in. But anyway, that's something that I think people need to really consider. Now, if you can avoid retail altogether, that might be the best move ultimately. I mean, because really, um, there's very little shot for your services to go past in this particular climate unless something dramatically changes, unless
Mhm.
something dramatically breaks. It's probably not going to go past the January part. Where before, there was hope that you can do it because it was trending upwards. If
Mhm.
you remember, in fact, for some retailers, they had cut out a mass part of the application process so people can go right in and apply and even interview on the spot, and in few cases get hired right on the spot. So COVID, of course, dramatically took that and changed everything the way we look at retail now. So if you can avoid retail, avoid it if you have a choice.
hmm and just kind of a lot of some other surrounding things to think about. One is supply chain. There is a strong opportunity that a lot of the best-selling items that your customers will come in looking for won't be available because it wasn't on the truck. And I already started to see that at Walmart yesterday, although their supply chain is independent of everyone else's.
Right.
If you are in retail, what my point is if you anticipate that there is product that is going to sell out, if you're a shopper, buy it now, like toys, for instance. If you are a worker, be prepared to diffuse some of that anger and frustration, then soft sell them onto a similar item or work with them to come up with some sort of solution. And what's happening, I mean, much like people do not want to go back into work, people do not want to go into shopping malls. And so
Right.
people are, it's almost like people are being forced to shop online. And as a result of that, you see malls closing, you see malls in trouble, you see major department stores closing.
Mhm.
Um, but again, that has really nothing to do with you if you are working for them,
Right.
but everything to do with how you handle this potentially rocky work opportunity for the next 3-4 months.
Yeah, completely agree. That is a consideration. I know there are a bunch of people who are who usually watch us. Uh, let's talk it up and talk it out. Feel free to participate with us here on the Modern Job Search Checklist. And you can feel free to put your comments. If you have solutions, if you have conjecture, we invite that as well. We are streaming to, of course, LinkedIn, Twitter now, Facebook, and YouTube. And be sure you check out our YouTube channel at the Modern Job Search Checklist. Just put that in Enter, and you'll be able to find it really easy.
Mhm.
So the last thing I would say about just the whole Christmas thing is that you know. Um, I don't know if employers plan to put people through the rigor of having more than 4 interviews, um, which a lot of companies have put extra uh, partitions, between the job seeker and, of course, the actual job.
Mhm.
That people are going to go ahead and consider that it may take a little bit longer. So the earlier you apply, if you're going to go that route, go ahead and apply, but try to get a referral, if I can say so myself. And referrals will cut through a lot of that, and actually, no telling, it may possibly shorten the amount of time that you interview. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case. Did you want to add anything else to that?
No, I'm ready to go on.
Okay, all right. The second topic, um, your best advice on how people can handle slow success during the job search and how they can rev things up. I think some people have got lulled to sleep,
Mhm.
as they traditionally do during the summer, and they're a little slow getting back. Uh, your best advice on making the slow job search a little bit more productive.
Sure. Let's talk about the actual dynamics of the job search. You
Hmm.
really have two types of job searches going on. And here's what I mean. You have your continual applications to the internet, nothing rejected, nothing rejected. But at the same time, you also should be spending 80% of your time connecting with other people, because of the fact that they are job incubators from the standpoint of they run in a large crowd, and many times positions become available long before they ever hit the paper. And if your network knows that you are job searching and you've been very good at keeping in touch and updating people, you will become top of mind when these opportunities are being bantered about a conference room table. Example, I got an email from someone in my network and said, oh, by the way, there's a VP of organizational development that's being planned at the XYZ company. They're not completely finished, but they're already talking to candidates ahead of the actual process. Are you interested? Mm-hmm. Point being, you get this access to these positions that you'll never find on the internet. Here's the other thing. If you are depending on the internet for your job search, you are in for a lot of work. You're setting yourself up for heartbreak many times. And it's just a process that you grind through. Now, in my experience, yes, you need to do that. Yes, you need to be selective. Yes, you need to make sure before you respond that you meet at least 80% of their requirements, minimum. And you continue to perk along. And my experience has been that it takes anywhere from 90 days, sometimes even 6 months, depending on how diligent the person is, to build momentum. And that's what a job search is all about, building momentum. And it is a slow process. But coming back to what you were asking, Mark, how do you move a slower job campaign along? And for me, that is by talking to people, by engaging with people on LinkedIn daily, not once a month, belonging to groups, volunteering outside of the home, anything that takes you away from your computer and into the community. And what I have found is that the more you give, the more you get. And by being generous with your time and investing it in your profession and in your community, you will experience a tenfold gain simply by doing that. And if you are having informational interviews weekly, sometimes two, you're insulating yourself from that feeling of hopelessness that sets in when it feels like you're doing all this work and it's dropping into a black hole. If you can still do that, but more importantly, get that positive reinforcement from people in your network, both those that you know and those that you want to get to know, then you realize, it is a process. It's not me. And there are lots of people out there where I can pick up a lot of information very quickly. And that makes you feel better. And if you feel better, you feel energized. And if you feel energized, then your job campaign, your job search takes on this aura of urgency, mm-hmm. because of the fact that you have this continual back and forth. So you're not shouting in the wind. You're in with a group of people that care for you, that you can learn from immensely. And then one final thought, and that is, if you got referred in, for a position, mm-hmm. or if there is a contact that you're trying to connect with through another person, if you keep striking out, There is nothing wrong with circling the wagons and calling that person up and saying, hey, Mark, I'm sure Jerry is really busy. I appreciate the contact. I don't want to be a pest, but I've been trying to connect with him for the past 4 weeks. Would you potentially have the opportunity to recontact them and let them know that Damien is legit, isn't going to hit him up for a job, and really is coming to get to know them and
Mhm.
learn from them, as opposed to the other thing, which is help me get a job, because
Right.
that puts them in a no position. You don't want to do
Mhm.
that. You want to be forward moving, you want to be strategic, and you want to pull as many people into your circus tent as possible to support you as you go forward.
Yep, all great advice and all. I probably wouldn't have said anything different. There's a few things I'd probably keep in mind. One is people just be clear about the direction, get more clarity. And when I say that, I understand that there are some people who know what profession they want to be in, but do you know what companies you want to work for? Do you want to know? Do you know that what you want it to look like? Do you want it to be remote? Do you want it in the office? Do you want a hybrid? The clearer you are, the better that people might be able to help you. Secondly, is to make sure that you have the correct names of the positions that you want. Don't
Mhm.
ask for something that they phased out 10 years ago
Mhm.
because that was the last time you had experience and you want to go back to that. Make sure you have something that is much more up to date as far as the title. Make sure you have the right title. Make sure you have the right. Make sure you have the right person that to refer to you. It's okay to contact a hiring manager. It's okay to follow and try to engage an HR director. It's okay even if you get maybe a little bit more audacity to even at times be a little bit bold and contact the CEO. Because
Mhm.
it's a very interesting dynamic that happens when you contact the CEO. Now, I was talking with my friend Luke Whitburn. If you follow my timeline, you'll see I had an hour and a half of interviews from people who really have a great perspective on what today's job search is going to look like in the future, particularly Luke's. And the reason why I bring that up because he reminded me that when CEOs don't want to turn down people, they just hand down.
Mhm.
And when they hand it down, when the HR director gets a referral from the CEO, he's not going to say necessarily how he heard from this person, but just because it got passed on, there's some accountability now to see your name. They say, could you make sure you see this person? They don't know whether the CEO says or not. I'm going to come back and ask, but they know that that was being handed out for a particular reason. And
Mhm.
so at least you can at least get a shot at a call when it's done like that. But I know some people are really largely intimidated to contact somebody that's in a C-suite. And it doesn't even necessarily be a CEO. But one of the things that could work in your favor now that people are at home.
Mhm.
There are a lot more people are at home, not particularly at office. And there are scenarios where there are everybody else except the CEO and his report twos are in the office. They could be at home. So that you have a captive audience right there if you're able to do that. But I suggest that you just don't blast them over time. See if you can connect with them a little bit. See if you can engage in a little bit of conversation. And then go ahead and try to somehow tactfully and respectfully say, hey, I like you and I think I might like your company, and I saw this role, and I would love to explore it along those lines. So you get to that point, and that's one thing you could do. The informational interviews, you know how I feel about those. You need to be doing dozens of those if you've been out of work after a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. By then, you could do 12 of those very easy. 60 days, 12, and one every 5 days, or two or three a week, however you want to count that. It may not even necessarily be 12, but my point being, the more people you talk to, the better. And I think even the deeper you're able to talk to somebody, a company that you want to work for, somebody who might refer you, you always ask, can they refer you to someone else in that? So there you're getting deeper into the company, you're getting more information. The more information you have at that particular time, the more and the better you're able to prepare yourself for the interview. Uh, One of the things that I think as well when you're doing an information interview is to be sure that you're asking questions that are going to matter. Just don't ask questions for the sake of that you've done this informational interview. I've seen people come out so directionless from informational interviews that you've got to have a direction that you're going to go, and allow for some, what I call, some constructive redirection. Sometimes you may be going down one path and they even said, don't go down that path, go down this path. The next question you could ask as well, if you want to manage the dynamic and make it more productive, say, hey, can I check back with you in a week when I get this done to see how that goes? And you can get some extra feedback from that person, especially they're giving you very valuable information. So, be very practical and strategic, like Damien said. But definitely the information interviews is that preview and that setup, that alley oop, if you will, to get a referral, especially, or that they can refer you to somebody that they know that may be. And you may have to travel two or three or four people deep to really get out of what you want. Not everybody's going to be that enthusiastic, but you're going to find that some will be enthusiastic and may want to see it through, and allow them to have that kind of leeway with you in your job search, because every little bit helps, and that informs them. Say, next time I refer someone, I'll do this instead of that. So there's many dynamics about the information interview. That's right. I say as well is that look out for those job postings from people in your network that are not posting it through the LinkedIn portal, but they're just saying, hey, come work with me. Pay attention to those and also interact with those. Put a comment in and, see if somebody will have a conversation about you with it. Uh, there's a lot of times people, they put that and say, "Come work with me" or "Come work for my company," because they're going to get a little residual from the referral. So of course, why not get the $3,000 referral fee that's going to be paid out to them 6 months, $500 a month? Why not until you make it all the way? Even they may give out those, no matter what the setup is. That's a no lose situation. So that's just a few of the ways to kind of fine tune those kind of things that really, you listen to this show, you've gotten a lot of strategies from us and our guests throughout time.
Mm-hmm. And another thing is, this is just building on what Mark said about networking with a purpose, networking with a strategy. There should be 4 or 5 questions that you ask every person that you interview with. One, because they are igniter questions, and I'll throw out a few in a minute. And two, it allows you to establish rapport with the individual. And if a person, just like hiring, right? If I like you, I may hire you. If I don't, I won't. And if there is someone that people want to keep in the area or within the industry, uh, people will call and they'll say, Mark, he's a really great guy. We really need to do something to keep him here. And because of the purposeful way that you have conducted your informational interviews, you've kind of rung a lot of bells along the way.
Mm.
And I can't stress this enough. The last thing that you want to get when you're doing informational interviewing, especially when you're starting, is like, no. And the quickest way to know is to say, I need a job. Do you know if there is work in your company
Mm.
or work that's coming available in other companies? You've just stopped the interview right there,
Yeah.
uh, because they can't help you. They're much more responsive if you start by giving a little bit about yourself and why you want to meet, and because you've already sent a cover letter in advance with the 5 questions that you want to ask,
Mhm.
you've set up the rules for the interaction, if
Mhm.
you will. And I won't go through the whole thing, but the highlights are: I only want 20 minutes of your time. I don't expect you to know or have a job for me. And here are the 5 questions that I would like to ask. How did you get started in the industry? What do you like about it? What do you no longer like? How has the business changed since you've been in it? And where do you think we're going in the future? You ask those questions, but I can guarantee you in 20 minutes, 5 questions times 4-minute answers equals you'll never get around to asking all of them. In fact, you may only ask one question: tell me about yourself, or tell me about your career. And you have flattered this person by saying, I sincerely want to get to know you, and I sincerely want your advice. And at the 20-minute mark, no matter where you are, you stand up, you put out your hand, and you say, this has really been a great experience, but I only said I was going to take up 20 minutes of your time. And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, whoa, 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 sit down. We're just starting. And I have had some phenomenal informational interviews that have helped me tremendously every time that I have been job searching. But as I've said before, Mark, every single position that I have had in my career has come to me through
Mhm.
people who knew me.
Mhm.
And by going out and meeting with folks, it eliminates a lot of the loneliness you feel. It allows you to feel connected to
Mhm.
your industry and gain valuable information. And the final thing you want to ask is, Mark, this has really been great. I appreciate your time. Who else should I be talking to? And that is an open invitation for this person to share with you people. Now that they've heard your story, now that they understand your vision, now that they have heard your plan, will immediately think of people that you probably wouldn't even think of in a million years to connect with you through this person, because this person has now bought into you and your job campaign and stands as a sentinel to help you
Mhm.
make connections. And that is the difference between having an energetic uh, job search process where not only are you meeting with people, not only are you getting great feedback, but you are practicing answering the probing questions that you will get asked during this process, and at the same time practice your ability to establish rapport, because in the end it is personality over abilities. And I've said this before, but the less qualified person many times gets the job because the company thinks that they will play better in the corporate sandbox. And it's an answer to the question of, how do idiots get promoted? Now you know.
Yeah. And actually, to even further emphasize that personality aspect of it, companies can't hire, or better yet, let's put it this way: companies can't train people to have great personalities.
Hmm.
They are not. Nobody has the capacity to do that, but they can hire people with great personalities.
Hmm.
And if you have a great personality, you show that you're enthusiastic, you ask intelligent questions,
Hmm.
and you come with some ideas that are plausible, that resonates with
Hmm.
them, you have a great chance than having all the other technical skills that are there, just like Damien said. It is definitely um, a lot of jobs can teach you to have the skills. And in fact, a lot of times people have come out of college and they've been told that they're going to be retrained. So forget everything you learned the last 4 years and get ready for this ride that's coming on, because that's the way it is. And to be frank, companies are looking more people who can get it going day one now. For sure, because they don't have the training dynamic that they did, and for somewhat they had they got hit with COVID. The trainer might have been one of the positions they either cut their hours or cut them out completely.
Hmm.
So you have to be prepared to say, "Hey, I can get some things done that first day," but you've got to make it a pleasant experience for them as well as you want them to do for you. And
Hmm.
also, other than, we can go deep into this, but the idea that, that interviewing these days could be quite a chore. It's possible that you may go into 8 to 10 interviews, and just don't interview with that company. Start to look for other interviews. That's going to be the biggest difference between a slow job search and the one that's productive. The one that's productive, and I've said this a bunch of times, you're interviewing with three, four, five, six companies at the same time.
Hmm.
And if they all go through that interview process the same way, if they all have 8, 10, 12, 14 interviews, then you know that the odds are in your favor because you've got more interviews. And while you're interviewing, just don't wait to do the interviews. Try to get to know other people in that company to get more
Hmm.
information, to find out about what the company's like. A lot of times we think that we need more toys, that we need to just become an expert with that one toy and learn how the many ways to work that toy. And it's the same way in interviewing as an adult. The more people that you're able to talk to and to engage, and for them to help you discern how you'll be able to fit in this company, and for you to be able to tell that to the person that's interviewing you, the better off you'll be. So out of those 4, 5, 6 interviews, you might get 2 or 3 offers because you've interviewed well, you've interviewed deeply. And not only, and I'll say it 100 times, not only the studies show that the referral system works for getting a job, but also includes making it a solid tenure in that job, that you can control how long you actually stay. If you
Hmm.
just came off the street and did the job boards and nobody knows you, you're going to feel lonely, and you may not be as viable as somebody that a bunch of folks know, and that they can also vouch for your ability and that you're a great person to know, at least from a personality point of view. And those people will also give you feedback as to how things are going. If you're struggling, they can see it, they can help you.
Hmm.
So I think that's, again, the numbers do matter when you're trying to get a job, when you're in the interview process. Now, when you're applying, it's not so much a numbers job, but the more chances you have better chances with people you know than people you don't know.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think we'll conclude it there. We'll go on to the last question. And then didn't join us. I'm sorry she missed.
Yeah,
But uh,
she's having technical problems.
yeah, it happens to everybody, including me today. Uh,
Yes.
uh, Finish this sentence, Damien. The future of work is blank, and why?
The future of work is your responsibility. And what I mean by that is no matter where you land, you are in charge of your career. Nobody's going to do it for you. You are in charge of continually learning and cross training. Companies love it when you're willing to cross train because you get to know the infrastructure of the organization. And within that infrastructure, there are leaders in various divisions. And once you have perfected networking on the outside, it's the gift that you keep giving yourself year after year after year. And your effectiveness as an employee is going to skyrocket because of this informal network that is infrastructure related is formed by you without even thinking. So, what that translates to is if there is a problem, if there is something that you need very quickly done and it involves another part of the organization, because you've had this and continue to build this infrastructure, you know the right people to call within the organization to
Mhm.
get the work done. Um, and no matter whether you're working at home or whether you're working hybrid or whether you're working in the office, always remember that to move forward dynamically is something that you make the decision to do each and every day.
Yeah. Yep. I would even add on, and I think you're right because it kind of lines up with what I had. Is that, and we've talked about this before. These days, if you're able to look at your industry and see what you're missing, see what your company's not going to pay for, as far as
Mhm.
training. I mean, first of all, if you're negotiating, you can find out if they have a training budget and can they give you one. That might be a great move instead of just trying to add a bottom line to your salary because that's going to be the thing that's going to pay off for the long term. And always I say play the long game, but yet be sure that you consider and that you set in your mind whatever you're not going to get from the company as far as training and you know is timely, that you're going to pick up the bill and go ahead and get that training yourself.
Mhm.
Likely you can get it even on the company dime as far as having the time off. But if you want to really benefit, go ahead and pay for the training yourself.
Mhm.
Especially if they don't. See if they will pay for it, but don't wait some years to do it because the technology or the dynamic may have either phased out or has advanced by that time you decide. So if you find out you've been with the company 6 months and they're not going to pay for the training because that's not where they're going, and you know that they're being frugal in their spending, which is possible, then you pay for the training and you do that so you could be ahead of the game. So that way you can either use that as arbitrage with the current company and say, hey, I got trained in this. This is could be really useful. Let me do some projects to enhance it, and maybe it might be something you do for everybody else. And
Mhm.
you can use that as leverage to get raises and bonuses, or that you'll look beyond, maybe even look at it as a contract possibility, or maybe you can look at it as a volunteer to contract to full-time employment. Or there's a lot of ways you can use it. But to answer the question, the future of work is contract. I think more people will be substantially contract workers. And it
Hmm.
reminds me of what you were saying, but I think the whole idea is that you would have to really take the reins of your job and your career and handle it like it's a business, truly a business of one.
Hmm.
Perhaps you'll need to set up an LLC or a corporation, depending on the business needs, and you can always get you can get a what you call it some legal help to help you set up an entity that will help you to manage the tax aspect of it. But all in all, I think the contract working part, the freelance aspect of it, is going to be really huge because I don't expect the healthcare system to stand up over the next few years as we know it now. I think
Hmm.
there's going to be some twists and turns and a day of reckoning. I think education is going to be affected in that kind of way. And you know the companies that are considering even built and started building their own pipeline from high school to the working world. Whether they make that stop at college or not is immaterial. Is I think Google's one of the companies where they've gotten to high schools and start looking at high school students from their freshman and sophomore years. And
Wow.
by the time they get to their high school graduation, they can have a position that can pay $40,000 to $60,000 very easily because
Hmm.
they're training the way they want it to, and they've been exposed to the world of tech in that kind of way. That might be consideration as part of the future as well, and I think we'll see that. But all in all, I think that the world will head towards being contracts. Uh,
Hmm.
and because of the independence, because of the health insurance costs, that it would be up to the individual to take care of that. I think that that could fall that way, and there's a lot of reasons why I feel that way, which we'll discuss in the next show because it's the top of
Hmm.
the hour. Do you have anything coming up that the people should know about, Danny?
I am going to have a seminar in about 3 weeks. We're going to be talking about the entire job search process
Okay.
and hopefully be able to touch a lot of folks. Uh, and other than that, I have a couple of articles that that I'm going to be a part of, and you'll see that over the next, well, let's see. The farthest one out is in October,
Okay.
but very very interesting times for both you and me and Annette.
Very interesting time. Yeah, there's an article that just came out yesterday where I was quoted in. You can go to, you can Google my name and bizjournals.com.
Ah,
Um,
mhm.
um, very popular site. They used a quote from, um, actually, kind of indirectly from one of my articles. So that was interesting to see. Very glad to see that. Of course, it was all good context, and of course, we have the next Job Seeker Nation show next week, and next week we have guests as well here on the Modern Job Search Checklist. Thank you very much for joining us. Keep in mind, you can catch us on our YouTube channel, the Modern Job Search Checklist. And we'll also have it streaming to LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook in addition to YouTube. Thank you very much for joining us. We appear here every single Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. Thank you very much for joining us. You guys have a great week. Peace in the Valley of Love.